Do you ever get that weird feeling of knowing someone deeply, even though you've never actually met them? Have you looked into a stranger's eyes and felt a chill of recognition, like you tapped into a memory that isn't from this life? What if I told you that, even without remembering, you've lived dozens, maybe hundreds of lives, and that forgetting isn't natural, but something forced upon you? Take a deep breath. Open your mind. Let doubt drift in like a cool breeze through your thoughts. And remember, what you're about to hear isn't fiction. It's the start of a personal journey that could change everything you believe about who you are. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like for more stories like this. Before we dive even deeper, pause and think. How many times have you found yourself feeling an overwhelming déjà vu, dreaming of places you've never visited, or carrying inexplicable fears and talents? Has this happened to you? If so, you're looking at the first clues about the vastness of your true existence, the one no system wants you to discover. And that's exactly why I'm inviting you now. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your experiences in the comments. You'll be part of a movement of seeking, courage, and rediscovery, where every story and every doubt builds a network of collective awakening. Let's go together, because maybe, just maybe, your soul is starting to remember. Imagine waking up tomorrow with all your memories, not just from this life, but from all the lives you've ever lived. Imagine being able to look at your hands and see the marks of different existences: a warrior in ancient Greece, a priestess in Egypt, a Renaissance artist, a medieval peasant. And suddenly everything makes sense. Your fears, your talents, your inexplicable passions. But why don't we remember? Who robbed us of this access to our true history? The truth is, since we were little, we've been taught to believe that life begins and ends in a single existence, that we are the result of a biological sum, a product of chance, or at most a destiny set by forces beyond our control. But what if all of that was just a veil, a carefully crafted smokescreen to hide humanity's greatest secret? Close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, why do I feel nostalgic for times I've never lived in? Why do certain places or songs stir such deep emotions that they seem to have been mine for centuries? What if what you call intuition, déjà vu, or recurring dreams are actually whispers from your soul trying to break the chains of forgetting? What's at stake when you feel deep down that there's something bigger, something that transcends time, space, and logic itself? Breathe. Feel. Let these questions echo in your chest, because from now on, we're going to question together the greatest taboo of our time, the origin of consciousness, and the true nature of human identity. All the great narratives that shape our perception, religion, science, education, media, have something in common: the maintenance of forgetting. Have you noticed how we're encouraged to only look forward, to forget mistakes and pasts, to avoid questions about reincarnation, transmigration, or anything that challenges the prevailing dogma? It's as if a silent pact exists among major institutions to keep humanity asleep. Think with me. What would happen if, overnight, billions of people had access to the complete record of their existences? If we remembered all the good and bad we've experienced, the loves, the acts of courage, the betrayals, the choices that defined eras, the world would change. Fear would lose its power. Control, now exercised through ignorance, would dissolve. Because those who remember are no longer content with little. Those who recall their true history discover that they can choose their future consciously, without manipulation. And that's exactly what the invisible enemy fears. Forgetting isn't natural, it's imposed. Ancient methods of distraction, through fear, dogma, excessive information without reflection, are used to occupy your time, your mind, your vital energy. This isn't just a conspiracy theory. It's the central mechanism of all major power systems. They want you distracted, polarized, tired, because that way you don't look within yourself for the real meaning of existence. When was the last time you questioned the official version of who you are? When did you truly stop and ask, what if all of this is a big charade to prevent my awakening? The silence of the answers isn't a lack of meaning. It's a sign that there's something to explore, something vital for your freedom. They know that if you remember, you'll be free. That's why keeping you on autopilot, in fear, in doubt, is essential for this cycle to continue. But now, a rupture is happening. An increasing number of people are feeling this inner calling, this restlessness that grows with every news story, every crisis, every coincidental miracle. The time of forgetting is over. It's time to reclaim lost memories and break the imposed cycle. Are you ready to face the discomfort necessary for freedom? The search for soul memory isn't a modern invention. Even before major monotheistic religions emerged, entire civilizations treated reincarnation as an unquestionable fact. In ancient Egypt, the books of the dead detailed the soul's journey and its successive returns to earth. The Sumerians spoke of cycles of birth and death as part of the great dance of the gods. In India, the concept of samsara permeated philosophy, art, and medicine, while in Tibet, monks preserved secret techniques to recall past lives, passed down only to the most worthy. And these weren't just beliefs. They were lived wisdoms, experienced in rituals, transmitted from master to disciple over millennia. The pyramids, the temples, the painted caves, all these are visible marks of invisible knowledge. Entire peoples knew that remembering was as sacred as breathing. Forgetting, on the other hand, was seen as a tragedy, a punishment, or even a form of spiritual slavery. In ancient Greece, Plato wrote about anamnesis, the soul's recollection, stating that all true knowledge is in fact an act of remembering what we've already lived in other journeys. Pythagoras, perhaps the first great spiritual scientist, clearly stated, "I have been everything you can imagine, man, woman, animal, plant. The soul is immortal and travels through infinite forms." In the East, Buddhism and Hinduism have always taught that suffering arises from ignorance about our true nature. The wheel of life, depicted in mandalas, represents precisely the repetitive cycle where souls transit until they reach a state of full consciousness. And, even in the Christian West, the first followers of Jesus still believed in the transmigration of the soul, until councils, under political pressure, decided to erase this knowledge from sacred texts. Have you noticed how all traditions, deep down, carry fragments of this same mystery? Time doesn't erase the soul's call. Despite attempts at concealment, something always remains. A prayer, a symbol, a shared dream. And that's why, even living at the height of technology and materialism, people continue to feel that something is missing, that there's a knowledge that doesn't die. Perhaps it's precisely this knowledge that you, on the other side, are starting to rediscover now. At this point, your rational mind might ask, but where's the proof? The answer is clear. In recent decades, science has approached mysteries once relegated to the realm of faith. Dr. Ian Stevenson, a psychiatrist at the University of Virginia, studied thousands of cases of children who remembered minute details of past lives, including names, cities, and circumstances later recognized as historical facts. His research makes up one of the largest scientific collections on reincarnation in the world, challenging simple explanations like coincidence or cultural influence. And it doesn't stop there. Quantum physics has opened new doors to understanding consciousness. Researchers like Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff suggest that the mind is more than just a result of neural connections. It might exist at subatomic levels, accessing a universal field of consciousness. Rupert Sheldrake, a British biologist, proposed the concept of morphic resonance, patterns of information that transcend space and time, connecting minds and memories across generations. Even the phenomenon of déjà vus and recurring dreams, once treated as mere peculiarities of the brain, are now being studied by neuroscientists as possible access points to records beyond individual biography. And near-death experiences, reported similarly by people from diverse cultures, indicate a continuity of consciousness beyond bodily boundaries. All of this doesn't mean we have all the answers yet, but rather that the mystery is getting closer to being recognized not just as a belief, but as a natural phenomenon, capable of investigation and direct experience. Ultimately, the big battle isn't between faith and reason. It's between dogma and seeking, between accepting ready-made explanations or opening oneself to one's own experience. Every time someone accesses an inexplicable memory, every time they feel a truth that defies logic, a small crack opens in the control system. And it's through these cracks that the light of consciousness returns, little by little, to the surface. So, if there's an invitation in this video, it's for you to allow yourself to doubt everything, even doubt itself, to become both a skeptic and a mystic. because only those who dare to look beyond the obvious finally discover who they truly are. Now that you understand the big picture surrounding the intentional forgetting of our true history, you might be asking yourself, but how do I access this lost memory? Is there really a way? Yes, there is. And perhaps the most impactful thing of all is realizing that it's never been out of your reach. Unlike secret formulas reserved for a spiritual elite, the technique for accessing soul memory is radically simple, democratic, universal, and it depends, above all, on genuine willingness. First, clear your mind of the idea that remembering your past lives requires extraordinary gifts, long initiations, expensive gurus, or mysterious instruments. In ancient traditions like Egypt, India, and Tibet, true remembrance began precisely in silence and simplicity, combining three universal keys: breath, sound, and expanded states of consciousness. Let's start with your breath. Close your eyes, if possible, right now. Exhale long and deeply. Inhale counting to 4. Hold your breath. Exhale counting to 4. Repeat. Feel how, as you slow your rhythm, your thoughts become fainter, like clouds dissolving in the sky. This technique, called conscious breathing or pranayama in Eastern traditions, has been used for thousands of years to prepare the body and mind for non-ordinary states of perception. The secret isn't in the complexity, but in the quality of your presence. It's by calming the mental noise that the first images, sensations, and memories begin to emerge from the deepest layers of your being. The second element is sound. In different cultures, the use of repetitive sounds like mantras, drums, chants, or even simple beats was the tool to destabilize the brainwaves of the common waking state. The reason? When you chant a mantra or listen to a rhythmic sequence, your brain enters lower frequency states, like alpha and theta, which makes it easier to access content normally hidden by rational logic. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. When you surrender to a repeating sound, the conscious mind relaxes and the gates of the unconscious open. Finally, the state of silence or meditation. By combining breath and sound, you begin to notice a rare inner silence, a space where the voices of fear, doubt, and anxiety give way to pure feeling. It is in this fertile void that soul memories present themselves, not as linear movies, but as flashes, sensations, insights, amplified emotions. Don't expect to remember precise dates, names, or small details. The first memories come as a distant echo, an inexplicable smell, a fleeting image, an unreasoning cry. Don't force it, don't judge, just observe. Maybe you'll doubt, but isn't it just imagination? The answer is, it hardly matters. What your soul wants to show isn't a birth certificate from a past life, but the learning that's imbued in those experiences. Keep practicing. Make silence your ally, sound your portal, and breathe your anchor. With time, patterns begin to reveal themselves. What seemed like chance turns into purpose, and then suddenly you feel, I remember, even without words. Thousands of people around the world report similar processes. With persistence, it's common for vivid dreams to emerge, intense sensations when visiting certain places, or even spontaneous memories triggered by music, smells, and everyday situations. If doubt comes, remember, experience is your greatest guide. The more you practice deep presence, the clearer the hidden lines of your own destiny become. You might be wondering, what's it like in practice to awaken these ancient memories? What do I feel? What do I see? Get ready for a journey into your own unknown territory, a dive into the deepest layers of human experience. It all starts with subtle, almost imperceptible sensations, an inexplicable peace, as if time slows down around you. Sometimes a slight pressure between the eyebrows, a tingling in the hands, a shiver running up your spine. The environment seems to take on a different texture. Sounds become clearer, colors become more vivid, even the air seems to vibrate differently. As you allow yourself to relax and follow your breath, sounds and images begin to emerge. They aren't movie scenes, but brief flashes, like old photos from a forgotten album, the outline of an unknown city, the smell of damp earth, the warmth of a campfire, the touch of a hand. Sometimes it's just a color, a piece of music, a word in an unknown language that echoes in your mind. Your rational self tries to interpret, am I making this up? But something deep down says, stay. Soon, intense emotions surface. Tears well up for no reason. An inexplicable laugh escapes. Fear or tenderness emerge like waves that come and go. It's a deep feeling that doesn't resonate in the present, but still makes sense. Many people report recognizing traits of their current personalities and talents in these memories. For example, someone with an inexplicable fear of water might discover flashes of a life lived on ships, or even an ancient drowning. A sudden passion for foreign languages might come with memories of having lived in distant cultures. Sometimes the experience is so intense it feels like a small trance. The passage of time disappears, the body feels light, and the sensation is of floating through your own unconscious. In certain situations, the memory is accompanied by a profound sense of inner truth, as if everything suddenly makes sense. It's not a logical truth, but an emotional certainty. One of the most common reports is, "I always knew it was like this, I just forgot." But it's not all sunshine and roses. Awakening these memories can bring up old pains, forgotten traumas, ancestral fears. Don't be scared. This is the beginning of healing. What emerges to be understood, forgiven, and finally released. Every strong emotion is an opportunity for self-knowledge and self-transformation. Instead of running from discomfort, embrace it. Look at fear as you would look at a scared child. Give tenderness and comfort to who you were, and allow that energy to transform into wisdom. With time, the process becomes more natural. Access to memories becomes more fluid, appearing spontaneously in dreams, meditation, or even in unexpected everyday situations. You begin to notice patterns, people who always appear in your life, places that attract you for no reason, recurring challenges. And in this expanded view, a non-judgmental compassion arises for yourself and others, accompanied by the certainty that everything, absolutely everything, is part of the great mosaic of existences. It's important to repeat, don't compare yourself to anyone. Everyone has their own pace. For some, the first memories are cinematic. For others, they come as intense, almost abstract sensations. The goal isn't to prove anything to anyone, nor to create elaborate stories, but to feel, to deeply feel, what your soul wishes to reveal. Respect your limits, be patient, and be open to what comes. You are digging the fertile ground of your origins, and every step is golden. If this topic resonates with you, share in the comments. What did you feel when trying these practices? Did any specific memory, sensation, or emotion come to the surface? This space is for dialogue. Your story can inspire others to start their own journeys. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel, because from now on, we're going to dive even deeper into this universe of spiritual self-discovery. Your presence makes all the difference. Now you might be thinking, but why should I seek these memories? What really changes in my life by accessing these deep experiences? The answer might be more transformative than you imagine. Awakening soul memory is embarking on a journey of self-discovery that transcends any therapy, self-help course, or traditional religion. By accessing ancient memories, you begin to understand patterns that until now seemed inexplicable. Irrational fears, spontaneous talents, sudden affinities, phobias, intense or conflicted relationships. Everything starts to reveal a larger logic, a unique narrative that connects the various pieces of your personality. Let's look at examples. Imagine someone who spends their whole life afraid of heights, without ever having fallen or suffered any trauma in this life. By accessing their memories, they realize they were a cathedral builder in the Middle Ages who suffered a fatal fall during construction. Or a person with a natural ability to play unknown instruments, who discovers resonances of incarnations as a musician in various cultures. Understanding these patterns not only brings immediate relief, but also a sense of acceptance and empowerment. You understand that you're not broken or wrong. There are just old stories asking to be integrated. And it doesn't stop there. Accessing soul memory allows you to identify and transform karmic behavior patterns, repetitions of situations, toxic relationships, self-sabotage, tendencies towards guilt or fear. By recognizing the origin of these energies, you can finally forgive yourself and others, interrupting cycles of suffering that perpetuate for generations. Everything that seemed like an obstacle suddenly becomes a portal for healing. Another natural consequence is the awakening of dormant talents and potentials. By remembering past life experiences, many people report explosions of creativity, courage, leadership, compassion, and even specific skills. Languages, sports, arts, sciences. The feeling is like drinking from an inexhaustible source of internal resources, no longer depending on external approval. You stop comparing yourself, feeling small, and learn to trust your intuition, recognizing that it is, in fact, the voice of centuries of learning. In the realm of relationships, everything is redefined. Encounters are no longer casual. You recognize soulmates, old friendships, rekindled loves, lessons that return through difficult people or challenging situations. Judgment dissolves, giving way to empathy and respect for each being's unique journey. You realize that no one crosses your path by chance, and that every reunion is, in fact, an invitation to grow. Perhaps the most profound effect is the reconnection with your true life purpose. That feeling of emptiness, of something missing, gives way to clarity of mission. You discover that you came into the world to learn, transform, and above all, help others awaken. Not out of obligation, but out of natural compassion, out of recognition that we are all travelers on the same road. And finally, there's healing. Not just of emotional patterns, but even of physical ailments, chronic symptoms, energetic blockages. Doctors and holistic therapists report countless cases where, by accessing and understanding the deep root of a symptom in past lives, a spontaneous and definitive release from suffering occurs. The body speaks, but the soul shouts, and when heard, finds peace. Awakening to soul memory is not a privilege, but a natural right of every human being. And by taking this step, you place yourself at the forefront of a silent yet overwhelming movement, that of the true revolution of consciousness. Imagine a world where every person remembers who they truly are, where there's no more room for manipulation, fear, or ignorance. That world begins with you, now. So I ask you, what would you do if you knew you could change everything, starting from your own memory? Are you ready to leave behind the shackles of forgetting and embrace your history with courage? If so, stay with us, because the best is yet to come. Your journey has just begun, and the next step will be to face the system that insists on keeping you in the dark. Let's break this cycle together, because the future awaits us, and it begins with remembrance. Now that you know the path to access your deep memory and understand the potential for expansion of the awakened human, it's time to face one of the most challenging points of this journey, the silent, yet relentless, confrontation with the structures that still today are dedicated to keeping the veil of forgetting over humanity. Have you ever wondered why, despite so many accounts, scientific, research, and transformative personal experiences, the idea of soul memory continues to be ridiculed, censored, or treated as fantasy? The battle here is more subtle than any armed conflict. Don't expect newspaper headlines, but rather subliminal messages, carefully edited school curricula, standardized religious discourses, massive entertainment, and even the bias of academic references. Whenever a liberating truth threatens to emerge, it is quickly dismissed. Conspiracy theory, fantasy, charlatanism. Can you remember how many times you've heard these terms applied to topics that seek to expand consciousness? It's no coincidence. Since the dawn of civilizations, control over knowledge has been an instrument of power. Egyptian temples guarded their mysteries with 7 keys. In the Middle Ages, discussing reincarnation was heresy punishable by burning at the stake. The technological advance of the modern era brought a new, more sophisticated type of censorship, the suppression of essential questions in the name of practicality, consumption, and the fear of ridicule. We are taught to discredit everything that official science cannot measure, to ignore our subjective experiences, to fear being different. Reflect, what would change if we all truly knew that we carry millennia of memory in our essence? How would the motivation for rampant consumption, competition, individualism, blind obedience to systems of authority be affected? How would the institutions that profit from the fear of death, scarcity, failure react? The awakening of the masses represents, for those in power, the real threat, a humanity conscious of itself, autonomous and collaborative. That's why they invest so much in keeping you distracted, exhausted, skeptical, and above all divided. See how the media ridicules, education ignores, religion dogmatizes, and traditional science dismisses everything that falls outside the norm. But think, every great transformation in history began in the realm of the invisible, with uncomfortable ideas, with people daring to challenge what's normal. Today the revolution isn't made with weapons, but with memory. Remembering is subversive, and every person who allows themselves this reunion silently becomes a spark of change. So look around. Observe how the system reacts whenever someone dares to ask, who am I really? Where do my dreams come from? Why does everything seem so programmed to keep me busy and distracted? Notice the discomfort. Notice the fear. But notice, above all, that the time of silence is running out. A new era is emerging, and you are part of it. Your courage to seek the truth is the spark that can ignite fires in thousands of other souls. That's why it will never be easy, but it will always be worth it. You've made it this far because something inside you beats stronger. Maybe a restlessness has emerged, a desire to go beyond what you've always been told. And it is precisely this impulse, this almost sacred curiosity, that opens the door to your transformation and to the beginning of a silent revolution made of ordinary people who decided to remember. Therefore, I want to extend a direct, practical, and deeply transformative invitation to you. Don't let this search die in the realm of theory. Live it, experience it. Choose even today to perform a simple remembrance exercise. Set aside a few minutes, find a quiet environment, close your eyes, connect with your breath, and observe what emerges. Don't expect anything extraordinary at first. The true miracle happens when you allow yourself to listen to the whisper of the soul without judgment or anxiety. By repeating this ritual day after day, you open a new path which deepens with each step. And if you feel you need support, know that you're not alone. This community exists to welcome you and share experiences that society taught you to silence. In the comments, open your heart. Tell us what you felt, report intuitions, doubts, fears, accomplishments. If you want to deepen this path, subscribe to our free newsletter, where weekly I share techniques, stories, content forbidden by the mainstream, and ancient materials that are only now coming to light. Feel part of this expanding web. Here, every person who awakens serves as a guide for others. There's no hierarchy, no masters, just companions on the journey. If this video resonated with you, share it with someone else who also feels the call. Leave a like, activate notifications, and especially write in the comments what memory, sensation, or question stood out to you most throughout this content. Your words have power, inspire, connect. We are many, and we are one, parts of the same consciousness that, little by little, is beginning to remember its own origin. By engaging, you empower this network of transformation. You are part of something bigger, and the time has come to take your place in this silent revolution. Ultimately, it all comes down to a choice. Continue living by the old rules, repeating patterns, believing that life is just this succession of days, or dare to go beyond, and in doing so, discover not only where you came from, but why you are here. It doesn't matter what your story is, how many times you've tried and failed, how many times you've doubted yourself. What matters is that now, at this very moment, you have a real chance to awaken to something absolutely new. Remember, you're not here by chance. There's a reason for your interest, for your restlessness, for the silent call that has accompanied you throughout your existence. The soul, despite all attempts to erase it, never truly forgets. It just waits for the courage of the right moment to reveal itself. And perhaps that moment is now. When you decide to seek your origin, you recognize that you are not a victim of chance, nor a prisoner of old mistakes. You become a co-creator of your destiny, capable of forgiving, transforming, learning, and, most importantly, teaching by example. The world needs people willing to remember who they are, not to dominate, but to serve, not to prove superiority, but to heal and unite. If all this resonated in your heart, don't keep silent. Like this video, share it, write your impressions. Join this movement of silent rescue, a movement that begins within, but is reflected throughout the world. Each awakened person illuminates other paths until the light is so strong that no lie can withstand its own shadow. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like for more stories like this. Thank you for being here, for listening, for feeling. Remember, the journey of awakening isn't easy, but it is, undoubtedly, the most beautiful. You didn't come into the world to survive. You came to remember and transform. And if you made it to the end of this video, you've already taken the first step. Until the next discovery, may your memory blossom and may your light illuminate everyone around you.